to this module where we are going to be sewing the pencil pants trousers. So here I'll be unfolding my pattern where I have the front and also the back view. To check how we cut it, you can watch the previous video for this. Then also here I've prepared my fly front flap where I have the measurements 5 inches by 7 inches. Also I have my pocketing which I'll be using for the pocket bag. I have the measurements here 12 inches by 13 inches. And also my pocket facing where I have 5 inches by 11 inches. So now the first thing first that I'm going to be working with is to apply my pocket facing into this pocket bag. So now I'm going to be picking one this way and the other one this way. So these are the right sides of the pocket bag. So you are putting your facing, one on the left side and one on the right side. So I start by doing this. Then you'll be turning the rough edges. So I start by sewing. So we're just turning the rough edges, sewing down the facing to the pocket. So I'm going to be doing the same thing for the second part. So as you can see, this should be the result. So now once we are done with this, the next thing for you to do now is to pick up the pattern piece of the front. Then for us to do the slant pocket, just measure 2 inches from the waist point. You notch it just a little bit. Then for the side seam, you measure 6.5 inches or 7 inches. Then you also notch at the sewing allowance which you added for the side seam. So now that you have this, all you need to do is to pick up the pocket bag. So the wrong side of the pocket bag facing the wrong side of the trouser pant. So now you're going to be notching exactly the 2 inches which you have here. Now if you realize what happened here, this excess that we have here, that's because at the waist it has been shaped, it is not straight to the hip. So you have to make sure that your pocket bag is straight to the hip and also aligning to the waistline. Alright, so here that we have the 7 inches, down here you just come down by about quarter or 3/4 or half inch to notch the pocket bag alone. So the next thing for us to do is to slant it this way. So then I sew at about 1/8 or quarter of the seam away from the fabric. As you can see, quarter or 1/8 of the seam away from the fabric. So what I'm going to be doing now is to cut out this pocket bag off it. So now the next thing for me to do now is to turn in these rough edges by folding it a bit, then sewing it down. So now we have what? The slant opening. So now the next thing for me to do now is to place this back to its rightful position, making sure that the pocket bag are aligning at the inside. So as you can see here, the pocket bag aligning to its perfect position, the way you have cut it. So now I'll just be sewing down at the waist to hold down the pant trouser itself and also the pocket bag. The fan is not going to be showing. Yes, 12 minutes. So now as you can see, I've held down both the pocket bag and trouser pant itself. So the same thing goes right here. So I'm just going to be tacking this down just at this point here to hold down both the trouser pant and the pocket bag itself. So now you can see I have this, the pocket bag and the trouser pants are now together. So now we are left with what? These rough edges down here. So now for us to finish these rough edges with the same part that I notched initially, I'm just going to be doing the same thing for the whole pocket bag itself. So now you put your hand into the pocket to draw out like this. So the two notch parts meeting each other, then sewing. So I'm sewing according to the shape that I have for the pocket bag. So I'm going to be notching this end it's not going to be bulky. Then I flip to the other side. So as you can see, I have what? A very clean finishing of my pocket bag. So lastly, what I'm going to be doing is to base by top stitching at the end. That's to make it stronger, so that when you are putting something, maybe like your phone, the weight of the phone and all that, so it's going to hold it firm. So we top stitch. So at the end here, at this angle, so I decided to make it a curved seam. So you can either do yours straight, so whichever one. Then here, I have what? My slant pocket and also the pocket bag that I can put stuffs into it. So the same thing I've done for this side, I'm going to be doing the same thing for the other side. So don't forget placing this well, notch a little bit below, notch exactly at the 2 inches, then you flip, then you top stitch. So 1/4 or 1/8. Cut out the excess of the pocket bag. Then I turn in the edges. Alright, so now that we have what? The slant pocket, the balance of the notch by sewing down, then also holding this down. Now we need to finish what? The pocket bag. The notch. You put your hand inside to bring it out. Then we sew according to the pocket shape. Just 1/4, then you notch at the edge so it doesn't get bulky in here. Because I'm doing repetition like this. So now I top stitch to hold down the pocket bag. Okay, so now you can see that I've also done the other side. Alright, the slant pocket, and also having what? My pocket bag. And also this end. So you can see that the right side facing the right side, and we also have the pocket at the left and also at the right side. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to be working with is to sew the fly front zipper. So now the flap which we have cut, what we are just going to be doing now is to sew the end. So just at the sides, So you're just sewing quarter 1/8 according to the shape that we have, the curved end. So once we have done this, we have an open end at the upper part, which we are going to be using to turn it out. So you can just use your scissors to flip it to the right side. Then you have something like this. I'll be doing the same thing for the second one. Then I have what? My fly front piece. So I'm going to be using the ironing to quickly press it out. Okay, so welcome back. Now as you can see, my pocket has been well ironed, and as you can see, well relaxed. Also, the fly front piece has also been ironed. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to fix the zipper. So now at the center front of the trouser piece, you need to determine how long you want your zipper to go. So it all depends on your choice, but having to understand that you're working with a short zip, and the whole length of the short zip is just about 7-8 inches. So now you have to understand that no matter how high you want, how long you want the zipper to go, it shouldn't get to this silver tip here. So what I'm just going to be working with here now is to work with 6 inches, because I'm working with a female pant. So 6 inches, then I notch. So you're just going to be notching not up to 1/2 inch of the sewing allowance you added. Then now, for the placement, for a male, the left overlaps the right. For a female, the right overlaps the left. So now let's get this done. So since I'm working with the female zipper, I need to start with the right first. So at the point where we had this notch, so you just turn it like this, then you iron down. So now I have it well pressed. So the next thing for me to do is to place the fly front like this, and also the zipper. So you have to make sure that your zipper shouldn't be too long, or shouldn't even go longer than what the facing which you have here, which is the flap. Then I also place this like this, making sure that my fabric is not far away from the zipper. neither too close to the zipper. So I'm just going to be leaving at about 1/8 space between the fabric and the zipper to top stitch down. So here your seam has to be, if not perfectly straight, but at about 95% straight, because your seam is going to be reflecting at the front. And also your spacing has to be even. So now we've done this for this egg. The second part, you're just going to be putting the flap to the right side from the waist to where you notch to sew down. So I'm just going to be sewing the same thing, 1/8. Sewing it down all the way to the notched part. As you can see, then also flipping it over to top stitch on the seam. So here I have this top stitched. Then the next thing for me to do is to turn over to iron down. So now you can see from the notch part I've pressed it down with iron. So now you're just going to be placing this on the seam which you already sewn for the other end. Then as a beginner, just use a pin to hold it down. So it doesn't move when you are sewing. So you can see I've used a pin to hold it down so as the zip will not be showing. So at the other part, you know, we've sewn this one to this. Now it is left for us to now sew this to the fly. So you just sew it down at the tip to hold down both the fly and the zip. So like this. So once we've done this, from the notched part, which we already have, we are going to be sewing the crotch area back to that notched part which we had. So according to the shape of the crouch over there, make sure that you are not sewing it down to the fly. So if you realize, I did not start from the head, I left a space. So once I'm done with this sewing, I I flip it back to the other side, like this. It has been well sewn at the inside. So all I just need to do now is to sew the fly front shape on the left side. So I can just remove my pin, then also create my seam. So now I'm going to be creating my seam according to the fly front shape. So make sure that this other fly is not going to be sewn down. And as I said earlier, your seam has to be 95% straight because it's going to be showing at the front. So as you can see, here I have what? My fly front zipper. So the last thing I'm going to be doing is to sew down these two fly, which we've used to turn the zipper together. Then we are done with this. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to bring out the shape which we took in from here. Don't forget, what we notched was 2 inches, so you have to measure back that 2 inches and reshape the waist. Okay. So now we have the front trouser. So for the back, I'm going to be sewing what? My dart. Don't forget I already notched the width of the dart and the length of the dart, which is what? 4 inches. So now I'm going to be removing my pins and patterns of the fabric. So we are sewing the dart towards the back side while we have what? The front. So the two notch parts meeting each other. And the length of the dart, which is what? The 4 inches. So you sew it, stepping to knotting. Then also for the second part, so here I have my dart. So I'm going to be doing a proper ironing. for that. So now I need to sew the side seams for both the front and the back. So the right side, facing the right side. All the way down to the hemline. So don't forget the sewing allowance you added. So what you added as your sewing allowance is what you are sewing off. So now at the pockets, what you notched, you are sewing exactly at that point you notched, moving away the pocket back so you don't sew down the pocket back. So try as much as possible to confirm that your fabric is not expanding, that at the end of the day, your hemline will not be meeting each other. So here, I have my side seam, both front and back, sewn to each other. Then at the points, we notched. And at the pocket bag, not sewn down, moved to the side to sew. So now you need to make sure that when you are sewing, you try as much as possible that the hemline is meeting each other, not the one that it will have expanded and eventually the hemline will not meet each other. So as you can see, everything meets up both at the waistline and also at the hemline. So now I'll be sewing the second side. Making sure that it is meeting at the waistline. So at the point of the pocket bag where it meets, you move to the side. Now don't forget, you have to be very careful that your fabric will not be stretching to the extent that at the hemline it won't meet up with each other. So you have to confirm that the side seams are meeting and also the hemline are meeting. Sewing off the 3/4 inches which we added. According to the shape at which you've cut the fabric. So if you're having an issue where the hemline is not meeting, so it means that you have to read, then re-sew. Because according to the way you've drafted and cut your fabric, everything was meeting. So why will it now be different when sewing? So don't overlook it. So as you can see, I have my side seam, the waist meeting, and also the hemline. And you can see the two fabrics are meeting each other. So now, so the next thing I'm going to be working with now is to sew the inlay of both the front and the back. So still the same thing, the hemline meeting up with each other, and also at the crotch here, they are meeting up with each other. So I will sew both the front and the back together. So now I'm done with the inside leg all the way, and as you can see, they are meeting up with each other. So the same thing which I've done for this leg, I'll be doing it for the other leg. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing now is to go and do a proper ironing and overlocking. Okay, so now welcome back. Here I have finished my proper overlocking and ironing. So as you can see, let me open up. So as you can see, the finishing of the inside, open seam, overlocking the two ends, also for the in leg and every other part of the trouser. So all seams should be well overlocked and well ironed, opened. So now the next thing I'm just going to be doing is to sew the center back seam now. So still the same sewing allowance which you added. So now if your seams at the inside leg are not meeting up with each other, you should know there's an issue somewhere. So the seams should meet because that was how you cut it. Making sure that you open up your seam. So now you can see so you also iron to have an open end seam. So now flipping to the right side. This is what I got for the waist. So the next thing for me to do is to prepare a waistband, which I have done. For you to prepare a waistband, all you just need to do is to measure from the fly front piece all the way to the center back seam, and also from the center front at the other side to the center back. So you add additional 4 inches to it. You are cutting it by the band height of 5 inches. So which is what I have here, and I've also put a stay to it to add strength. So for every band you need to add a strength to it. So you put a stay at the wrong side and iron down. So the next thing I'm just going to be doing is to sew up the 2 bands together at the center back. So you have an open seam like this, and as you can see at the wrong side like this. So now at the center back piece of the trouser, place the two seams to each other, let them meet each other. Okay, so preferably you can pin down to be on the safe side. Then you start sewing from the center front. So now you are sewing at 1/2 inch, which is the same sewing allowance you added when cutting your fabric. So from the tip of the fabric all the way through to the pockets, through to the side seam, through to the darts, all the way to the center back. Then from the center back all the way to the other end of the center front. So now, as you can see, at the center back, meeting each other like this. So now at this point, the excess of the zip, you cut it out. So now, at the point where your fabric ends, the band height, which is 1.5, you measure it out from the seam, 1.5 band height. So just like this. Then the excess, you are going to be folding it. So making sure that it is longer. So you can see what I have here. Making sure that it is longer. Then you sew exactly at what the tip of the fabric all the way up. So making sure that it is straight, else it's going to affect what? The band. So once you are sure of what you've done, trim off to at about 1/4. Then you flip. So you can see that what we have here is straight towards the edge of what the fabric. So the same thing you've done for this end, you're going to be replicating it for the other end. Measure 1.5 inches, which is the band height. Making sure the one at the back is longer, then you sew straight up. Then you cut off to flip. And as you can also see, this is also straight towards the edge. So now the same sewing allowance you've used to turn, that is what you are going to be using all the way. So we need band height of 1.5. So you can confirm. While every other thing goes to the back, making sure that it is longer. So your seam is going to be going up So you can just play safe by pinning it down. So we have something like this. So what I'm just going to be doing now is to iron. So preferably you iron so it becomes much more easier for you when you want to sew. So this is how it's going to be. So now you can see I have ironed properly. Okay? So the next thing for me to do is to sew at the right side. Now you can be wondering why we're going to be sewing at the right side. But don't forget that we extended the back to be longer than the seam. So once we are sewing at the right side, you are sewing on the seam, not on the band. Alright, so you are sewing on the seam. So automatically it's going to be picking what is at the back. So now let's do that. So you sew on the seam, not on the band. You have to make sure that it's exactly on the seam. As you can see, you can't see the seam at which I'm sewing at. That's because I'm sewing exactly at the seam and my seam is straight enough. And automatically you can see it is holding what is at the back. So here is the finished work. So you can see proper finishing at the back and also proper finishing at the front. To confirm what you've done, you can see that the band, they are meeting. Not a situation whereby this seam will not meet or one is not longer than the other. But you can see exactly what I have here. Everything meets. This is how it should look like at the end. By the time you are done, you should have a well-placed trouser.